When the first naturalist saw one, he didn't reach for his notebook. He reached for scissors. He was certain someone had sewn a duck's beak onto a beaver's body as a prank. In 1799, Captain John Hunter sent a pelt back to England. The scientific community laughed. They called it a hoax, a fraud, an impossibility. They were wrong. But here is the secret they didn't understand. The platypus isn't a joke. It isn't a mishap of evolution. It is a living time machine. A creature that looked at the rule book of biology and ate it. Today, we aren't going to just list its quirks. We are going inside the genome. We are going to the venom. We are going to the electricity. Because the true story of the Ornithorhynchus anatinus is not about weirdness for weirdness' sake. It is about survival. Absolute, relentless, 120 million year old survival. Let's start with the face. That bill. It looks like rubber. It feels like leather. But under a microscope, it is neither beak nor mouth. It is a sensory array. A fleshy satellite dish covered in 40,000 electroreceptors and 60,000 mechanoreceptors. Think about that number. 40,000. A shark, the ocean's apex predator of electricity, has roughly 1,500. The platypus has 40,000. We need to understand what that means. You and I see the world through photons, light bouncing off objects. A platypus sees the world through amps, volts. When it dives into a murky Australian creek, it closes its eyes. It seals its ears. Its nostrils pinch shut. It is blind, deaf, and suffocating. And yet, it knows exactly where you are. Every twitch of a shrimp's muscle, every heartbeat of a yabby buried under 6 inches of mud, every nerve firing in a frog's leg. The platypus bill detects the electric field distortion generated by living tissue. Imagine swimming in total darkness, complete silence, and suddenly a ghost lights up in your vision. A shimmering green-blue outline of a creature trying to hide. That is the platypus's reality. But here's where the insane biology kicks in. That bill isn't just a detector. It's a processing unit. The nerves from the bill map directly onto the somatosensory cortex of the brain, taking up more real estate than the entire rest of the body combined. Neuroscientists call this sensory dominance. I call it cheating at evolution. But the bill is just the appetizer. Let's talk about the real scandal. Milk. Mammals are defined by 3 things: hair, 3 middle ear bones, and mammary glands. The platypus has hair, it has the ear bones, but its mammary glands? No nipples.
Let me repeat that. This animal produces milk, a complex antimicrobial protein-rich superfood, but it sweats it out of its skin. The platypus has areolae, patches of skin on its belly. The milk seeps up through the pores. The babies, called puggles, lap it off her fur like it's a damp towel. For years, scientists assumed this was primitive, a leftover from the reptile to mammal transition. The platypus lays eggs, after all. It's a monotreme, one hole for everything: eggs, waste, reproduction. But here is the truth they're discovering now. That milk isn't primitive. It's a weapon. In 2018, researchers sequenced the platypus milk protein. They found a fold in the protein they had never seen before, a 3-dimensional ring structure. They named it the Shirley Temple fold. Cute name, lethal function. This protein doesn't just feed the puggle, it annihilates bacteria. Superbugs like MRSA? Dead. Staphylococcus? Obliterated. The platypus milk has an antibiotic property so potent that bacteria haven't evolved resistance to it in 120 million years. Think about that. We are losing the antibiotic war in hospitals, and a creature that looks like a cartoon is holding the secret formula in its belly sweat. We aren't studying the platypus because it's weird. We're studying it because it has solutions to problems we haven't even invented yet.
Now, we need to talk about the male. Because everything I've told you so far, the electroreception, the milk patches, the egg laying,
pales in comparison to what lives on his ankles. The spur. Most mammals fight with teeth, hooves, antlers. The platypus said, no, I will produce a venom so neurologically bizarre that it breaks pain science. The male platypus has a hollow spur on each hind leg, connected to a crural gland. When threatened, or during mating season, when competing for females, he drives that spur into his rival. The venom isn't designed to kill a predator. It isn't a neurotoxin like a snake that shuts down breathing. It is a pain machine. Let me read you a quote from a scientist who was envenomated. The pain was worse than shrapnel. It does not fade. Morphine does not touch it. I would rather be shot. Another victim reported that the pain lasted 11 months. Any movement of the affected limb triggered a burning electric agony that radiated up the spine. Why? Because the platypus venom contains a defensin-like peptide, a protein that mimics the structure of a spider toxin, but with a twist. It hijacks your voltage-gated sodium channels. Normally, when you get hurt, your nerves send a signal, then reset. The platypus venom prevents the reset. It holds the sodium channel open, so your pain neurons just scream non-stop. The body has no mechanism to turn it off. You just have to wait for the venom to metabolize. Days. Weeks. But here is the truly insane part. The male only produces this venom during breeding season. Think about that logic. He isn't using the venom to hunt. He doesn't eat with it. He isn't defending his burrow from foxes. He is using it to fight other platypuses. The male platypus has evolved one of the most painful biological weapons on the planet. Not to kill predators, not to catch food, but to win a wrestling match with his neighbor over a female. That is the definition of overkill. And it is glorious. Now we go microscopic. We go to the genome. In 2008, a team of scientists sequenced the platypus genome. They expected to find a mess, a missing link. Instead, they found a war. The platypus has 10 sex chromosomes. Humans have 2, X and Y. A platypus has 5 X's and 5 Y's. They chain together like a train. During sperm production, they line up in a long alternating parade. X1, Y1, X2, Y2, X3, Y3. No other mammal does this. Birds have Z and W. Reptiles have temperature-dependent sex. The platypus has a bizarre multi-chromosome system that looks like it belongs in a plant. But here is the true story the headlines missed. When they looked at those chromosomes, they found genes that should not exist together. The platypus has a gene for egg yolk, vitellogenin. That's the bird reptile gene. It's how you make an egg. But right next to it, the gene for casein. That's the mammal gene. It's how you make milk. The platypus genome isn't a missing link. It is a mosaic, a collage, a creature that stole the best parts from birds, reptiles, and mammals and stapled them together. It has the venom genes of a snake, the electroreception of a fish, the egg-laying mechanics of a reptile, the milk of a mammal, and the metabolism of a furnace. A platypus needs to eat 20% of its body weight every night. A 150-pound human would have to eat 30 pounds of food every day just to stay warm. Its body temperature is only 32 degrees Celsius, 5 degrees colder than a human. Scientists used to think this was primitive, a flaw. Now we know it's an energy-saving hack. Why heat the whole body when you can just insulate the core? The platypus doesn't waste calories on being warm. It spends calories on being smart. Let's put this in perspective. The platypus lineage split from all other mammals 120 million years ago. That was the Cretaceous period, the age of dinosaurs. Tyrannosaurus rex walked the Earth. When the asteroid hit 66 million years ago, the non-avian dinosaurs died. The pterosaurs died. The marine reptiles died. The
The platypus? It went underground. It kept swimming. It kept laying eggs and sweating milk and detecting the electric heartbeat of shrimp in the dark.
While mammals diversified into dogs, bats, whales, and humans, the platypus looked at the chaos and said, "No, thank you. I'm fine here." It didn't evolve into something else. It evolved around everything else. It optimized. In Australia, the rivers dried up. The climate swung from rainforest to desert. Animals that couldn't adapt died. The platypus dug deeper burrows. It developed a thicker fur, 900 hairs per square millimeter, twice the density of an otter, 3 times the density of a polar bear. When you touch a platypus, your hand doesn't get wet. The water rolls off. Because under a microscope, that fur is barbed, interlocking, trapping air like a dry suit. In water that is near freezing, the platypus's skin stays completely dry. It swims with its eyes closed, using only electricity in currents that would drown a human. This is not a primitive animal. This is a specialist. A creature so good at being a platypus that it hasn't needed to change its body plan in 60 million years. And yet, we mock it. We put it in cartoons with funny hats. We call it the duck-billed platypus like it's a joke. We treat it as a footnote in biology class. Look at the weird mammal that lays eggs. But the indigenous peoples of Australia never misunderstood the platypus. The Aboriginal nations, the Ngunnawal, the Yuin, the Bundjalung, saw the platypus clearly. They called it Daragur, Tambreet, Booning. They knew it was a freshwater spirit, a shy guardian, a creature that taught humility to those who thought they understood the world. The dreaming stories describe the platypus as the child of a duck and a water rat. Not a joke, but a merger. A symbol of the fact that the natural world does not care about your categories. The platypus is not confused about what it is. We are confused about what it is. We spent 200 years trying to shove it into a box. Mammal, reptile, bird. The platypus ignored us. It kept swimming. It kept eating its body weight in insects every night. It kept shocking researchers with new discoveries. That its milk cures superbugs. That its venom rewrites pain science. That its genome contains the blueprints for 3 different classes of animal. But here is the true story's dark turn. The platypus survived the dinosaurs. It survived ice ages. It survived drought and fire and flood. I don't know if it survives us. In the last 30 years, platypus populations have declined by 50%. Not because of hunting, not because of habitat loss alone, though that's real, but because of river dams. The platypus needs to eat 20% of its body weight every night. To do that, it needs to forage for up to 12 hours. When we build a dam, we slow the river. We change the insect population. We increase sedimentation that clogs the burrow entrances. More insidiously, climate change means more droughts. The platypus can only stay underwater for about 2 minutes before needing air. If the river drops below the burrow entrance, it can't get out. It drowns in its own home. The International Union for Conservation of Nature now lists the platypus as near threatened. In some regions, it's functionally extinct. We are watching a 120 million year evolutionary masterpiece disappear. Not with a bang, but with a dam, with a drought, with a we didn't know. So what is the true story of the platypus? It is not that it's weird. It is not that it's a hoax. It is not even that it's a missing link. The true story is this. The platypus is proof that evolution is not a ladder. It is not climbing toward more advanced or more human. Evolution is a tinkerer, a scavenger, a poet who works with broken parts and duct tape. The platypus took the reptile's egg,
the mammal's milk, the bird's bill, the fish's electric sense, the snake's venom, and it wove them together into something that works so perfectly it has outlasted every single one of its original contemporaries. It is not a failure of nature. It is a masterpiece of nature. And if we lose it, we don't just lose a funny animal with a duckbill. We lose a library of biological solutions we haven't even learned to read yet.
So the next time someone calls the platypus strange, absurd, impossible, remember, it was here before us. It will try to be here after us. And it does not care if we understand it. It only cares if the river runs, if the yabbies hide in the mud, if the electric field of a shrimp flickers in the dark water.